like a fucking. Can I cuss on there?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Oh shit!
Have you met me?
Yeah, that's gotta be an outtake. Yeah, born and raised in Long Beach, St. Mary's Hospital. I don't know the whole history behind Long Beach, and the reason why I love it so much is just like it's like different for like everyone who's from here or born and raised here. It's like there's something that's in us that just gives us a sense of pride of being from Long Beach, because you know it's really diverse out here. We got like all kinds of ethnicities here. So when you're like growing up, going to elementary schools with all different races, different ethnicities, you know, I find it hard to have any kind of like racism in your blood, because these are, you know, your classmates. And and like, you know, sometimes I travel to different places and they don't even have like Asian folks or Mexican folks, or never seen a Samoan or Filipino, stuff like that, you know. But growing up here and just understanding what our parents and grandparents had to go through to get here, because my family's from Cambodia, and they were refugees, and you know, who immigrated here to the States and settled here in Long Beach, California, and just all the history behind everything that happened in the killing fields, and them sacrificing everything for me and all my other siblings and cousins and stuff to be in America and be able to reap all the benefits, you know. But you know, it's very humbling, and you kind of take shit for granted, you know what I mean? Growing up here, first generation American, but like the city really, like, it grooms you to become like the person that you end up wanting to be.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, it teaches you a lot of core values and shit like that. Like,
what are some of the things that Long Beach instills in you?
Really like a sense of pride to know where you came from. You know what I mean? Because it's not like I'm out there like, oh, Long Beach this, Long Beach that. Like, nah, it's like when people come and talk to me and stuff, like, you know, my vibe, I'm very chill and shit like that. But once you get to know me, it's like, oh damn, you know, he's real cool and shit. And majority of us are like that, you know. But a lot of us also, we with the shit. So don't even fucking try and play. And like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to be banging to know like, hey, we don't play. You know what I mean? Like, just respect us, we respect you back, you know. And I guess like just being around here and growing up here, you kind of have a sense of pride, because you look at other cities and you compare it to yours all the time.
All the time.
You know what I mean? And it's like in Long Beach, like, we got the beach, like, literally right here. Like, we could walk to the beach. And sometimes people take it for granted. And then when they move out, they be like, damn, I miss that shit, you know? And then, like, we have great weather. You know, we have, like, some of the best parks in the world. For me, and that's not even being biased. Just the cultures and the different subcultures in the city, you know, that you can only get here. Like, yeah. Especially with like CambodiaTown, you know, it got coined CambodiaTown because we're the second highest populations of refugees from the killing fields, and first being in the capital, Phnom Penh in Cambodia.
And this was in the 80s, correct? Like the early 80s when the mass exodus was happening?
It was like mid 70s,
okay.
But then you know, you would have to flee to Thailand, to the refugee camps, and if you can make it across that border, you know, they'll take you in, and then while you're there, you don't even know how long you're going to be in the refugee camps until you get sponsored by a country that's willing to take you in. So my mom and my parents' family, they stayed for like 4 years. So it becomes a very humbling yet prideful thing for me when people ask where I'm from, you know, because CambodiaTown, it just doesn't mean a certain district in my area, you know. It just means like it's the city that my grandparents and parents fled and left, right? They left Cambodia, and then it happened to be in Long Beach, and we get coined CambodiaTown. So it's like, oh shit, like it's like a best of both worlds for me, because it's like it's a history of my grandparents and my parents who sacrificed for us to get here, and it's the city that I grew up in and the demographic that I grew up in. So there was like a sense of pride because
there's not another Cambodia town.
there is in Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts.
In Lowell.
Yeah, but it's not common like Chinatown. Like there's Chinatowns in so many different.
Yeah, there's not that many, but CambodiaTown in Lowell is nice too. It's like it's crazy. Like shout outs to all my folks in Mass. It's different because it's crazy. All right. So our family and our country is very like humid. The weather is very like tropical. We grow up we're a lot of agricultural farmers and stuff. So imagine like having to leave that to another country in a refugee camp for years. Don't know when you're gonna get sponsored. But then, okay, so let's say you come to the United States, right? You take people that are used to farming and being in humidity and heat, and you drop half or majority of them in Long Beach in Southern California, and we get this weather, right? But we keep the same culture and traditions, the same type of foods, same type of grocery stores and restaurants, right? And then out in Massachusetts, you drop them into the cold. The winters. So I'd be tripping out when I go over there, and I'll see like my friends' moms like growing in their garage in the winter, and I'm like, oh shit. Then I'll do hydroponics in here, and I'd be thinking like, that's crazy, because over here my aunts and my grandma, they're like growing in the backyard all year long.
Wow.
All year long.
Never even think about like just the climate difference along with language and
and having to adapt, and it's like a lot of them also suffer with PTSD. You know what I mean? So me growing up here, it's kind of like, okay, my mom always instilled in me like, you can be whatever you want to be, just at least be educated. At least be educated, learn something, learn a skill, or just be book smart, or just know more than the average. And then she started telling me like, they used to kill people who were smart. I was like, what? Like, I'm naive, I'm growing up over here. I don't know about all of that,
Yeah.
And it wasn't in our history books. It wasn't like, I don't even think it still isn't in the history books. As far as like when we were growing up in Long Beach Unified, they weren't teaching that shit.
Yeah, so you're going to school and not learning anything about your culture, history at all.
It's like history that we would have to ask our parents and our elders, and then like I knew it was true because I would ask my uncles, and then I would ask my aunt, ask my grandparents, I asked my uncle, and all the stories matched. You know what I mean? And then I'm thinking to myself, why would they fucking lie to me? It wasn't like I thought they were lying, but like growing up here, you kind of also like think.
You probably can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's like I always wonder like where we from, and because my I'm Lao Nyon, which is like Lao Cambodian, Lao people from Cambodia, but speak both languages as well fluently, along with English. And now having to learn history about like my mom saying like, you lucky back home. I used to have to wait to get clothes from my older sisters or sandals. Oh, I had to wait. Sometimes I had to use my brother's shoes. And you got your own room, own TV, own bed, like really core values at a young age, And then also telling me like, yeah, back in the killing fields, they would kill you if you were smart. They would kill you if you had any kind of talent or skill. And then I think she said like they only kept like photographers or artists just so they could paint and take pictures of the Red Army.
The new regime.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then hearing about the Museum of Tolerance in middle school, like that experience in middle school was kind of like the first time I really got to learn about genocide. You know what I mean? Like I'm hearing about it back home, but
you haven't seen pictures.
I haven't seen pictures.
Videos.
Yeah, we were all obviously we learned about the Holocaust and stuff like that. But yeah. So middle school, nothing about it. We go on this field trip to the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles, and they had exhibits for like different genocides and stuff like that. And then they had like a little sub area for Japanese victims of like prejudice and everything due to like Pearl Harbor and stuff, and the concentration camps and all that crazy shit they had to go through.
Here, yeah.
Yeah, right, like crazy. So then I'm telling my friend who happens to be Cambodian as well, because we kind of were like, oh shit, how come they don't have anything about our history over here? So we, it was kind of like said jokingly as well. So then it was like, okay, cool, whatever. We went back to school and, paid no mind to it, right? It wasn't until high school, I think sophomore year or whatever, I went to Long Beach Poly. We had a field trip back to Museum of Tolerance. And I'm telling some of my friends who didn't get to go in middle school, like, yo, this place is dope. You're gonna go see the Holocaust. They're gonna give you a card of like one of the children, and you really feel the experience of like the gas chamber and all that other shit, right? So I'm hyping all that up, right? And mind you, now we're in high school, so it's like a lot of other like Asians who we still only are hearing from our parents about our history, and mind you, a lot of us are born and raised here in the city as well. You know what I'm saying? And growing up here with like all the gang violence and everything else. So we go to the Museum of Tolerance, but this time they had an exhibit for the Cambodian killing fields. And yeah, and that shit was crazy because we're all on this field trip as a group. You know what I mean? And then we're supposed to be taking these paths to different exhibit halls and stuff. And we turn the corner, and I happened to just steer off to the right, and it said something Cambodian killing fields, right? And nobody was going in there. And I was like, hold up. I went by myself first, and I turned, and I looked. I walked in there, and I started finally to be able to see visually what my parents and grandparents were teaching.
Well, what did that feel like?
Like back in the day, before the internet, we had the encyclopedia, right? So I used to look it up, and it's little ass excerpts, not fully detailed on what's going on, what really happened. But I guess this exhibit that day when I went, it was a bunch of like photographers and journalists from like Life magazine, Time magazine, who had all their artifacts be donated to the Museum of Tolerance. And it wasn't just like one picture, it was like done right. Like it had pictures of the concentration camp, it had pictures of like the people who were murdered, they took pictures before they killed you. They had artifacts or like pictures of the school that was turned into a torture chamber, electric beds, skulls, like all of this, right? So then, I'm lost off the pack, and then other people started, coming through too, who are also children of survivors of the killing fields or just fleeing to another country,
Yeah, it's crazy that they wouldn't realize that was the demographic of.
Yeah, and I'm like, if we never would have gone in there, I don't even think our whole class would have even made it an attempt to even go in there. You know what I mean? So we kind of stumbled upon it, and it hit us like really, really hard, and it affected us in a way where we're like on the way back. It's like, bro, like on some real shit, like I'm gonna tell my mom, my sister to come back. You know what I mean? Like bring our family with us, and that shit was crazy. Because then after that, it wasn't until like after high school and it got into college was when they finally started having like classes on it and stuff. Because I know Cal State Long Beach, they started doing a lot of like Cambodian history and culture stuff there, but not just to like stay on that or like CambodiaTown, or not to just stay on that, but like
no, but it has such a rich history.
Yeah, it's just like a lot has gone down in the city, and especially in that area. So like growing up in that area during like 80s and 90s, and then being a teenager in the 90s, having to go through all that and the gangs and just trying to even go to school, like you gotta make sure you turn the right corner, you know what I mean? Like that shit was real. And it humbles you because, some of us, man, we've been to so many funerals and buried so many friends and family that it became routine. Like, you know, like, we gotta go to, damn, he got, you know, got murdered, da 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 da, or like, you bury a lot of people and you start taking life for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one thing that you brought up that that really resonated with me is when you were talking about how your family fled to avoid death, and then you come to Long Beach and it's so chaotic in the area where you guys are it's a different version.
Yeah, it's like you take people who are from a whole nother country, right? Don't speak the language, don't know the culture, don't know anything, right?
Like, this wasn't planned.
Yeah,
they didn't plan to. Yeah.
And you have to start over, like your whole life over. And there's times where I go, you know, hard on my mom or my elders, but I have to forget, like, man, they're not from here, you know? Because there'll be times where, man, I don't know. I think it might just be moms and cell phones because they don't know how to use that shit. But she be, oh my gosh. And I just be mad, like, dang, like, why is it so hard for you? You know what I mean? But then I have to step back, like, okay, she's not from here. She didn't grow up tech savvy and stuff like that. But it's to the point where, like, I understand now. Like, imagine having to tell your kids, or just imagine, hey, here's a trash bag, fit whatever you can in this, because we out.
Yeah.
One bag, we out. Then put them in a whole new country, starting all over. My mom came at 16. So you gotta understand, she, like, home is all she knows. So now she gotta come here and learn a whole new language. And then she has me like a year and a half later. So now she's a mom who's barely 18, 19, you know what I mean, in a whole new country.
So how do you teach your kids how to interact with this new society?
Yeah, she don't know herself.
Yeah.
How's she gonna help me with homework? You get what I'm saying? So then when we get, you know, we migrate here, where do they put us? They put us in the hood. They put us in poverty, right?
Yeah.
So when we come here, then we deal with other people who now feel like we're invading their space, their property, because they've probably been going through everything to finally get their space, and here we come taking their space. And
in a wave too.
In a wave.
Yeah.
In a wave. So then you get, you know, the conflicts, and you get, you know, things that escalate, and then you start the gangs, and it's for your protection of your own kind, and then that leads into you going against each other, and it's just like a vicious cycle, you know. But when you're born and raised here, you gotta understand, like, we're known for our gangs out here. I'm not even out here trying to, like, promote it. Like, that's just what it is. You know what I mean?
Even as somebody who never lived here, back when seeing Snoop Dogg videos for the first time.
That shit's real.
Yeah, that's what you associate. You know, it's in every rap song of that time, and it's just known.
It's like part of the culture out here. You know, it's like, I feel like it's never ending. It's just like when you think of LA and you think of the West Coast, you think of Impalas, weed, weather, palm trees, and fucking Honda Civics and Acura Integras. Yeah, that's what it is.
I would love to, like, be in the car when we have this conversation, but could you also talk about the Asian culture and the car culture?
Man, it's not even just an Asian culture, because it's like the whole import scene. It was real out here. Like in the 90s, this was back way before Fast and the Furious, you know. And like some of the viewers, they'll agree and understand what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not bullshitting with you when, like, I tell you in the 90s, the Honda Acura and our import scene, it was crazy, to where every fucking 16-year-old that had a license that was into imports. You could have been Asian, Hispanic, white, black, whatever ethnicity you were. When you got your car, you were gonna hook that shit up. And it was just a given because, you know, this is like our pastime per se. Like, we used to go to the street races out in Ontario, and it would be like Friday, Saturday, right? And then we would be in Carson, Compton, like, I think it was like Monday, Wednesday. But it would be like a fun ass meet. Like, picture hundreds of cars, and we're talking imports. Is, you know, everybody talking about the fart cans and shit, like, like 300 deep on the fucking 10 freeway headed to fucking Ontario, like waiting to find them. You know, you pull up at the fucking gas station or a Del Taco, and you just sit and wait to find out where the track is gonna be at. You get there, and it's like, you know, there's fucking 2 lanes for cars that are gonna race, and then the other lane is just cars that are parked to watch. And then, you know, we're facing this way, the other cars are facing this way, and everybody's drag racing here. But a lot of times it's in the industrial area, and you could be there for a cool like 30 minutes, walking around, meeting other people, hollering at some girls, or vice versa, or just meeting cool people. But you're catching good ass races at the same time, or you're racing yourself. And then the cops always come. So then that adrenaline rush, you're trying to, and then the race is on. You're trying to find another track and shit like that. And then, like, you know, it became like a thing. It became like a meet. It was kind of like how it is, like, when people go to Slauson and go hang out, you know, with their lowriders and stuff like that. Like, the whole street racing scene, that shit was like real out there. And even in Carson, Compton, Ontario, it started becoming everywhere in Southern California, to the point where, like, you would see a fucking, you couldn't go a block away without seeing a hooked up Civic or an Integra, like. And it became our thing, because then, like, even now, like, our younger cousins and our friends' kids are now teenagers, and they're driving these cars and they're fixing it up, and it's like they're doing a motor swap and they're building it, and you kind of look at it and it's kind of like, for us, or for me, like, I compare it to those folks who like work on the old Mustangs and Camaros and stuff, like classics. You know, like, these Hondas are now like 25 plus years old. You know, they're classics. So it's kind of like building a classic car again, per se. You know, you get the shell, and you like vision, like, okay, this is the engine I'm gonna put in, these are the seats I'm gonna put in, this is the clutch I'm gonna put in, these are the brakes, and it's like little bits and pieces that you can add to it. Yeah. And then when you're done, it's like a sense of pride. You gotta go race it. You gotta go check it. You gotta test it. You know what I mean? Like, why are you gonna spend all this fucking bread to not enjoy it? You know what I mean?
Hell yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's a big thing out here too. So, like, a lot of people know too. Like, when you come out to Long Beach, like for me, like, when I've been in New York for a minute, so, like, I have a checklist when I come home. When I know I'm really home, I have to hear the fucking ghetto bird, like the helicopters. I gotta hear the sirens of, like, either an ambulance or a police car, and then I gotta hear a fucking, like, an import, like, and then I'm like, all right,
You're home.
I'm home.
You're home. What does it mean to come home to Long Beach?
Man, it's like, you know, I've been gone for like 8 years, right? And every time I come visit, I take for granted something new when I leave. I don't know if you ever happen to deal with that. Like, it'd be like the littlest things too, like driving around and then boom, oh shit, I have my first kiss right here. You know what I mean? Little shit like that, or like,
because you have so much history all over the city that certain blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, and your family's buried here. Like,
all my family members are buried here. You know, majority of them are at Forest Lawn. Some of my friends are across the street at All Souls, and there's like a different connection when you start to realize that, like, damn, life is short as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could even think of the people who we've lost to the coronavirus, who last year would have never thought this shit would have been here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when I come home, it's like, it has a lot of sentiment of value and meaning to me. You know, like this is literally our Ellis Island. Like we were in Seattle first, like in El Waco for like Washington for I don't know, less than a year before we came here. But I feel like Long Beach alone was like our Ellis Island. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We settled here. We didn't move. We stayed. We stuck in the trenches when shit was bad because we grew up poor. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us had to deal with that, you know, and also dealing with discrimination and trying to just make our own place without, you know, when we were over here, we weren't excluding anybody. We couldn't say you couldn't come here or you can't be on this block or whatever. It was like, it was always open arms, you know? And what I really miss most, like, is just like the diversity of the culture on some real shit. Like being in New York, like it's cool, but like when you come back home, it's like you could go down one block, smell Mexican food, turn the corner, smell some bomb ass fucking like fried chicken, like barbecue, turn the other corner, be some bomb ass like Filipino food, and then everybody's fucking cool out here. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I never had any like, as far as, you know, the obvious like sometimes the racial tension and stuff like that, and gang stuff, but majority of the time everybody's cool. You know what I mean? Like I have family who are gays and lesbians, and like those be some of the coolest motherfuckers out here. You know what I mean?
It's literally the melting pot. They call America the melting pot, but I really think it's Long Beach. Both you and I have lived in Brooklyn, and everyone's still kind of segregated and doesn't fuck with each other.
They don't.
But like here, it's like we got love.
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like the Hasidic Jews over there.
Oh yeah,
they fuck what they own. You know what I mean? They just
do
like
not even fuck you, and everybody fucks.
I'm like riding my BMX like, oh shit, like I'm be looking like, oh shit, let me be out.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on this block. Like
yeah,
it's a whole other, it's a whole other
that
side.
Shit crazy.
What are some of the changes that you? Oh, there's a siren.
I'm home.
You're home.
And I have the fart can hatchback. So we're solidified.
When you talk about, you know, everyone coming over in the 80s, and then the gang war was really at a pitch, would you say in the 90s?
Yeah, in the 90s it was crazy because all the like you know, obviously all the majority of the Asian gangs when they started, it was more of kind of like protecting our own, because when we got here, you know, our uncles are also leaving their country to come here, and some of them are young too. Some of them are like 6, 7, some of them are teenagers already, 12, 13, right? So when they come, you know, obviously I've been in the school system, so I know about like foreign students and how they get treated and stuff. You know, they make fun of them, they make them feel like shit, you know? So my uncles used to get bullied, robbed, fucking be at the gas station, get beat up, you know? They don't know like about survival, like how they grew up in, you know what I mean? Like my uncles was on foot, fleeing, you know? So how do you defend yourself? You're in a whole new country, you don't speak the language well, you're getting fucked with all the time. What you gonna do? How long are you gonna let this shit happen?
Yeah.
At a point, you're gonna fucking come together and be like, we gonna fucking, you know what I mean? So it kind of started like that, and it was more of protecting our own. And then just like with anything else, like things get, you know, lost in transaction, and then it became, you know, Asians versus Asians, and you know, it was like a big like Hispanic and Asian thing going on. It was crazy in the 90s. It was so bad to where like I used to have to walk to my bus stop, right? And I used to stay right here off of like Washington Place and 10th, which is kind of like by Martin Luther King. So middle school, I used to have to catch the bus at Franklin Middle School, which is about a nice little 7-minute walk from my house at the time. And I was living with my cousins who went to Franklin High School, but I transferred out of there because I went to like a magnet program on the west side. So every morning I dreaded that walk, because there were times where you walk on the wrong corner and chasing you, and and you gotta like kill time because your bus don't come till 6:45, and it's 6:15, and it's going down right now in the morning. Mind you just woke up. That's not something you want to. And I'm not trying to exercise right now, you know what I mean? But it was crazy. And then when you walking home, you gotta imagine having to look both ways everywhere you going, not just for traffic, but to make sure that somebody ain't gonna fuck with you,
Yeah.
And when you're from here, you kind of have like that instilled instinct in you where you're kind of just like head on a swivel all the time, because you would hear too many stories of like people getting caught slipping, Like my sister, she got robbed for her necklace while me and her are walking home from elementary school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I'm like 10 years old trying to chase this big ass teenager in the alley, you know what I mean? And my sister like crying because they fucking just came from behind, like boom, took her shit.
Yeah. And
then like you get sweated, like they, you can't go to the mall without them. Like it was crazy. It was crazy. And like I said, like I lost my cousins to a lot of gang violence. A lot of people here who grew up in that era and that time lost a lot of people too. And we're not even talking just like death. Like a lot of them, I have a cousin who's doing life in prison. Some of them are getting deported.
Because also about the 3 strikes.
Yeah.
So you come over here, you get caught up in some shit.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
So either you flee the country or you take that risk. Because mind you, if you're on parole too, like there's certain people that you can't be with. So imagine the person that you can't be with is your fucking first cousin. You can't see. So you're telling me I can't see my first cousin for the rest of my life, or I'll get put back. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. Like we have to deal with a lot of that. And then like, the thing that really breaks my heart the most is like, I'm not trying to say like I'm better than anybody else or whatever, to each their own. I live my life, you live yours. But, what's really killing me or what's really hurting me the most was like, just the crime that was going on. And, it was like Asians on Asians, you know what I mean? And a lot of times over here, it was like Cambodians, Lao, like just people who came from Cambodia or survived that, or the children of the refugees who survived that. They come, over here, obviously we get acclimated to American culture and everything else, but then, like I said, we grow up in the street life out here. And then when they turn on each other, you're killing each other, and the moms are the ones that are burying them. So you got to understand, you know what I mean? Like after a while, I started to think like, our fucking parents fled a country that had genocide. It's the only genocide in history where it was their own killing their own.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And then their parents fled that to bring you to come here for a better life for you. And obviously, things didn't work out the way that, some people might have wanted to work out. And you turn into the street life, you know what I mean? And then after that, it's like the same thing on U.S. soil.
Yeah.
And then your mom is, your family's buried. It's supposed to be the other way around,
Your mom, after what all your mom did to come over here to have to bury you to the same type of violence.
Yeah, and it's like, that shit is crazy to me. And like I said, like, whoever watches this, I'm not sending out no like disrespect or whatever to, what you decide to do, how you live your life. But, on my point of view, it's like, that's how I feel. Because a lot of times, like some of the OGs now who got kids, like they ain't trying to have their kids bang, you know what I mean? Obviously, when you become a parent, isn't that what you want to do? Isn't that the goal? Like to have your child do better than you, to instill different values and shit in them, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to have them go through the stuff that you went through, you know what I mean?
So we're in an interesting situation now where you have the first generation that came over here in the 80s. It's not that long ago.
Not that long.
Not at all. Then you have the first generation, such as yourself and others, who are now having kids to this third generation of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about how the culture and things move through you through the generations?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like so in our culture back home, there's like arranged marriage. So it's like, yeah, I'm hearing
totally different.
I be hearing stories. I be like, what? Like, how much? How many cows? How many thousands?
Yeah.
That's it. But it's a lot of money to them out there. Obviously the currency rate is different. But then again, it's like arranged marriage. Like, so we get here to America and it's like it's open. You know what I mean? It's like a buffet. You can, you know what I'm saying? But again, our parents, grandparents grew up in a country where it was nothing but their own kind.
Yeah.
So they come here and, they're kind of on guard too because they've never seen an African American like that. They've never seen that many white folks or that many Mexicans or Samoans, Filipinos. It's like they've seen the Vietnamese and all the other Asians, but like not so much all these other ethnicities. So it wasn't like they were super prejudiced, but it was more of like, I don't trust them. If your friends are African American, just let me know ahead of time so I don't get startled. You know what I mean? So that generation leading to my generation who grows up around all of these people and different diversity ethnicities and stuff like that and different cultures, but now we're able to date other ethnicities. So now you have my generation who are falling in love with someone who's Hispanic or any other race, and then they're having the kids. So my generation, we still, as we were growing up, our parents instilled our language on us, and it was in the house. Whether you like it or not, you were going to learn the language. If you don't know it, you better ask what it means because I'm going to keep asking you. And that was like my mom. It was like, you're going to learn loud regardless. And I was naive, like I said. We're in America, we speak English. Why we gotta learn this language for? Thank God she whooped my ass and made me know, like, okay, you gonna learn this, right?
Yay, Mom.
Same with Cambodian and stuff too. So what I'm getting at is, without like dragging it out, is, we fall in love with whoever we fall in love with, right? I'm all for that too. But when they have the kids, it's like they're second generation American, but now they're being raised in only English. Mm-hmm. So if the mom is like Vietnamese and the dad is like Cambodian or Lao or whatever, it's like, how are you going to be able to teach three languages or three different cultures? Because you're American, so you're going to do the 4th of July's, the American cultures, but then you're going to do the New Year's, and then you got to learn this too.
Yeah.
How do you instill that in them at a young age without them being like, oh, we're in America, I don't need to learn this,
Mm-hmm.
But what happened is there's like, I feel now there's like a gap in losing the culture at the same time. Here's why I'm saying that. All right, so my generation grew up watching our grandparents and our moms cook, right? So we learned to cook, right? Mm-hmm. Now my generation who are having kids, their kids are growing up. Some of them, I don't speak for majority of the household, but I know like they're not learning the traditional dishes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're either going to the restaurants or going to their aunts and grandparents, But, sad to say that, as we're getting older, our grandparents are getting older as well. And a lot of them are starting to pass.
Yeah.
So traditions who was passed on to our parents as far as like different dishes that we cook and eat and language, it is now at our parents who knows when their time's going to come. If that doesn't come down to us and then we instill it to the kids, by the time this third generation comes, it's going to be gone. They don't speak the native language anymore because you're not teaching them.
Yeah.
And I feel like, because my nieces, they're half Filipino. And a lot of times when they come home to Long Beach, we go to family gatherings, we go to the temples and this and that, and they hear us laughing and talking in our language, and they're like, I wish I understand you. I wish I could understand. And it breaks my heart because it's like when they were younger, you know, I would talk to them and try to teach them, you know.
Yeah,
But they're like
also,
little kids. They
and
like,
they also didn't offer it in school.
they don't. Man, I wish they offered that as an elective at school. I would have took that class. Because shoot, it's not fair. Because I have like Mexican friends taking Spanish as an elective. I'm like, you over here cheating, bro. That's crazy.
What do you hope to? I mean, you've been here your whole life, and over the last couple of years, you've probably seen it change so much and so fast.
Man.
What do you think that? What do you hope that Long Beach holds on to?
You know, I think about that shit like every time I come home. Like, I've been in New York for like 8 years, right? But like, I travel back a lot, and every time I come back, I see a new fucking condo being built in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm not trying to glamorize the hood. I'm just like, damn, you done knocked out like all of those old buildings. And I know who lives there as far as like, you know, the type of people there. It's like, you know, low income housing and shit like that. And I'm like, all right, you're doing this, but then where are these people getting displaced to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's places where I drive by, and on a positive thing, it's like, I love how the city has incorporated a lot of like fucking street art.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Murals.
Yeah, and the murals and stuff. I'm a fan of like Tristan Eaton.
Oh, awesome.
And I met him when he did Bowery, the whole wall on Bowery.
Yeah.
And I told him like, hey, you did one down here in Long Beach at I forgot this hotel right here, but it was nice. So I like that, and then I just liked how like it's starting to grow as far as like I've seen a lot of stores and stuff pop up, like Second and PCH. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, that was like that
Seaport
defunct.
Marina.
Yeah.
Yo, that shit was cracking over there.
Grimy.
Yeah, it was hella grimy. They used to have a club over there that we used to go to, man.
I think I saw a women's wrestling match there.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, that area, it's like, I like how they're finally like using space to build like cool shit. Like, another thing is like, I drove by the fucking police station and I was like, what the fuck? Is this a hotel?
Yeah.
That shit was nice as fuck. I was like, what?
Luke's left, whatever, Lex Luthor's fucking
Yeah.
building.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, damn. But like, and like, seeing like new small businesses popping up left and right. I'm like, you know, I'm all for that. But
and I hope we get to keep, now that COVID's hit, it's just turned the city into something like, it's in a weird like holding pattern in some way. Like, we're just kind of waiting to see what happens with all this.
I mean, I really hope that, like, you know, on some real shit, like even being in Brooklyn for so long and seeing what real New Yorkers have to deal with like gentrification and stuff.
Yes.
When I come back here, it's so surreal because the irony of that is like it's happening in my own city right now.
Yeah, I mean, that I told you that's why I moved out here. I was living in Brooklyn for so long, saw the gentrification happen, everybody get displaced, and I came out here and I was like, oh, this reminds me of Brooklyn.
Yeah, this is West Coast Brooklyn for real. And, you know, and Brooklyn is the East Coast Long Beach without everything else, without the weather, without the fucking bomb ass weed, the beach, the palm trees. Fuck, I can go on and on. I just don't want like the gentrification, and like, to answer the question, I don't want it to lose its like cultural identity. That's like the main thing, you know what I mean? Because like there's certain areas that, you know, like, damn, I'm gonna get some bomb ass tacos over here, you know what I'm saying? Or like bomb ass Asian food over here. Or you can go to the north side and get some good shit. You can go, like, I love all parts of Long Beach, you know, and every part has its own little like subculture, you know what I mean? I just really don't want it to lose the more of the like ethnical cultures, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the diversity, of it. Like, if you start seeing people in CambodiaTown get displaced, I mean, they've been there for generations, and that's their fucking spot that they know everything about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that every single neighborhood has people that have been living there for a long time.
For a long time.
Long Beach has been like low middle class, you know, like affordable. Mm-hmm. And now
it's like one bedroom is like $1,500.
If you were on a good day.
On a good day. I said, what the fuck is going on?
I know, it's crazy. Well,
yeah.
we're coming to the end. I could talk to you for fucking ever, I swear.
For sure.
But talk to Long Beach right now. Tell everybody what's up.
Man, what's up, Long Beach? This is your native, you know what I mean, Joanlee. I'm a recording artist. Got some new shit coming out, and yeah, man, I rep hard for the city, man. Regardless of what part of Long Beach or what ethnicity you are, man, we all rep the same city. You know what I'm saying? So, shout outs to all of y'all.
It's all love.
Reasons to love Long Beach.
Woo!
Yeah, look out for the album soon. You can find me at I Am Joanlee, Instagram, YouTube. Been low key for a minute, but got a lot of shit brewing. So
Can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Hell yeah! Thanks, Joanlee.
That was dope.
I know, right?